All right, welcome back to the channel. So incredible. Adrein Broner is actually thinking of leaving Al Haymon and says, love Al, but the money is too much on Triller to pass up. If that doesn't say a lot about what's going on in boxing right now, and I'm telling you, mainstream boxing, dude, is really got some pressure on him, man, to try to keep up with casual boxing. Who would have ever thought that? Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, we're going to talk about Adrein Broner, Triller, Regis Prograis, Al Haymon, and just generally what's going on in boxing and what's going on with Adrein Broner specifically. But before I get into that, I got to say this. I'm a hardcore boxing fan without a doubt. I didn't watch the first Triller fight pretty much just out of protest because I was like, man, this is an exhibition. This isn't real boxing. I really want hardcore boxing and the best boxers in the world to be featured, right? Because I'm a fan of the sport of boxing and I love to watch excellent fighters. I know that guys like Jake Paul and whoever Askren, that's not a real boxing match. What it was, a KSI versus Logan Paul. That's not a real boxing match. That's just a bunch of stuff, right? So I'm like, I'm not really trying to watch any of that stuff. I'm just going to keep on doing what I'm doing, paying attention to the fights on Top Rank, paying attention to the fights on the PBC, fights on the Zone, right? Those type of things. Now, but at a certain point in time, man, you know, I'm looking in the mirror and I see my gray beard, and I think to myself, hey, man, you know, you're getting up there a little bit, man. Times change, man. Maybe you should just sit back and look and think, what's in the best interest of boxing, right? So my wife buys me this fight with Askren and Jake Paul, and I watch it. And I'm telling you, I've said it in videos before, that was the most fun that I've had watching a boxing event in a very long time, man. Very long time. And honestly, I think the only times that I've had more fun had to do with the actual main event and really enjoying an incredible 12-round fight or, you know, whatever it is in the main event. But never have I had a time where I start watching at, you know, 3 hours before the main event. And I'm like, hold on, let me pause and rewind this so I can watch it again before I get to the main event or before I get to the event that I thought was important, which is the Regis Prograis fight. So all in all, man, I'm like, this is clearly just entertainment. However, boxing is entertainment if you really think about it. I'm watching boxing to be entertained, and these guys did a better job entertaining me than PBC has done, than Top Rank has done, than Matchroom has done. Just, I mean, probably since Don King would have stacked cards was probably the last time that I was like, wow, this is fight after fight after fight after fight, or at least something entertaining, right? That kept my interest for long periods of time. In this particular thing with Triller, it's the music, the entertainment, the joking, the commentary, just the general party atmosphere in the place that made it really fun to sit back and laugh and do all that. However, when you start seeing things like Adrein Broner say, you know, I love Al Haymon, but Triller, that's a lot of money, and I'm going to Triller, right? Like, yeah, I love the PBC. He's like, no problem. This is what Adrein Broner said about it. Adrian's like, look, I'm sitting there watching Jake Paul make $600,000. I watch Askren make $500,000. Do you know that that is more than so many other boxers that have dedicated their entire life to the sport makes? And he's like, look, I'm not hating on that, but I'm just sitting up there looking at it like, God, dog, these guys are getting paid a lot of money for not really being fighters. So he says, hey, man, I'm not going to lie. Al Haymon has paid me a lot of money. I feel really, you know, I'm really appreciative, but I'm out. I'm going over to the Triller because if I fight on Triller, man, how much money are they? If they have to overpay Adrein Broner for Triller, how much money do you think they're going to pay Adrein Broner for a fight? And don't tell me that that's not possible because Teofimo Lopez got twice what he would have got for Top Rank for fighting in his next fight against Triller against Camboso. So Adrein Broner, excuse me, has a real path to fighting over there on Triller. First, there was a guy named Regis Prograis. I'm sure you guys are familiar. He was the one active world-class fighter that was on that card. Now, Steve Cunningham was on that card, and he was at a point definitely a world-class fighter, multi-time world champion, and quite honestly, looked really good in the fight that he was fighting, right? But, older guy, way over his 40s, not in his prime, or somebody that is really competing for belts at light heavyweight or at cruiserweight, which would be the weights that he would fight at. But that one real fight was Regis Prograis, and Regis Prograis said he wants to fight Adrein Broner. So an Adrein Broner, Regis Prograis fight on Triller, and I'm telling you, I don't care if that's the last fight or if it's the second last fight. I don't care. I would very, very, very much love to see that fight. First of all, Adrein Broner is an extremely popular fighter. Every time he fights, the numbers do well. And every time he fights, he's highly, highly entertaining inside the ring and outside the ring. Now, I didn't get to see his last fight that came after that layoff, but people are like, yeah, he didn't look that good. Well, hey, man, Adrein Broner might be entering into the time in the career that Triller might actually be really good for him. Now, him fighting Regis Prograis, that's a very, very dangerous fight for Adrein Broner, without a doubt. And honestly, I would pick Regis Prograis to win that fight. Those guys are both relatively the same size, but Regis Prograis right now is just so sharp, so powerful, and just is really at or near the top of his game. So, it is the type, but however, it is the type of fight that Adrein Broner would take, without a doubt. I mean, in my opinion, Adrein Broner is kind of like Errol Spence in that I can trust that Errol Spence Jr. will fight Jaron Ennis. I don't trust that anybody else in that division will fight him, but I trust that Errol Spence Jr. will fight him because, dude, he's a stand-up type of dude that believes himself. Adrein Broner, even with Regis Prograis, I believe that he would step in there with Regis Prograis. He would probably lose, but he would be in there giving it his best. Those guys would be entertaining in the lead-up. Regis Prograis is more of a tough guy, straightforward type of cat, but still, just the mix between those two would make an excellent, excellent fight. And if you consider the entertainment value that just comes with Adrein Broner, dude, Adrein Broner is going to be right at home on Triller pubbing those fights up. Now, the interesting thing will be, how does the Teofimo Lopez versus Kambosos fight do on Triller? Because if that does over 1 million pay-per-views, like 1.3 million, 1.5 million pay-per-views, like this Jake Paul thing did, man, and like the Mike Tyson did, because the first one was the first one that I didn't watch was an exhibition between two legends, Mike Tyson and Roy Jones, and that sold a lot. And the critics said, well, that reason it has sold so much is all these old guys were reminiscing on the time when their fighters were the man. Well, they did it again. They did 1.5 million with a guy that doesn't even box and Regis Prograis on the undercard. So what's the excuse now? That 1.5 million showed up for Mike Tyson and for legends to fight an exhibition fight, then over 1.3, 1.5 show up for a non-boxer. Why wouldn't you believe that if you had world-class fighters like a Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford heading a card there or something like that, why wouldn't you believe that those fights also could do extremely well? And really, all they have to do is make that $1.5 million mark. And they're selling more than they're going to do on Showtime, or they're going to do on DAZN, or they're going to do on Fox, right? Just imagine if you have a Deontay Wilder fight on Triller. Those numbers are going to be huge because those guys are promoting those fights like ain't nobody's business. So, as far as Adrein Broner saying, I love Al Haymon, I made a lot of money, but hey, man, I'm out. Dude, for his career, that's probably the smart move. I don't see why he couldn't take Al Haymon with him as a manager. Don't see that. However, I don't know what his contracts are. But all in all, I think that's a smart thing from Adrein Broner. You let me know what you think in the comments section, though. And with that, I'm out. Peace.